Now DJI are certainly not hanging around, and we now have yet another DJI Fly update. Only a couple of days ago we had DJI Fly 1.5.8. I did a video on this, but now we have DJI Fly 1.5.9. This fixes certain issues and optimizes overall app quality. Now the 1.5.8 I covered in detail. This was a huge update, in particular for the Mavic 3, and added some nice new streamlined features, so go and check that out. I'll link it in the description below if you've not seen that video. But what does version 1.5.9 bring, especially to the Mini 2, which I'm going to be testing it on today? Now I mention all the time to check your values on any updates, and you'll notice mine has gone to 2.7K 25. I never use that frame rate, but it's gone to that by default, so make sure you check them. And then also go and check out any pro settings you've got, maybe the last time you used, are they correct or not. Now we still have this nice new box in the bottom right hand corner, so everything is laid out nicely, so you can change your ISO, your shutter. Now a few people were asking about the you can't adjust that. That adjusts when you adjust your shutter and your ISO. I've done loads of videos on pro settings and how to use them, but it's best if you use an ND filter, because then you can dial in your settings. So if you're shooting at say 4K 25, you want your shutter to be 1/50 and an ISO around ISO 100. But everything else on the app is all nicely laid out in bold. Let's just take a quick look at the settings. So for the Mini 2, nothing has changed in regards to settings. Just check under safety that your altitude and your distance, return to home altitude, is all correct, because this can change. It's a bit random how sometimes it affects some people and not others. Advanced safety settings, also very important that you go and check them. Other settings that you want to make sure are correct is make sure that you've got your units you want to display are correct there, and then your gimbal mode, follow me mode most of the time. Allow upwards gimbal rotation, I always have that turned on. Gimbal calibration, I'm going to be using that in the video coming very shortly of how to do that. Phone charging, I have that either on or off depending on how flat my battery is. But everything else in settings is identical, so I'll go through this in more detail on the last video, so go and check that out at the end of this video if you've not seen that already. Apart from maybe HD photos, that's handy to have, so then if you take a photo it goes straight to your phone. But the weather conditions today are pretty terrible, 35 miles an hour winds, but a quick flight test to make sure that this app is performing just as it should be. Now just to show you how confident I am in the DJI Fly app, especially the 1.5.8 and now 0.9, is I'll do the first test in front of a load of seagulls over the sea in 35 miles an hour winds. So yes, I can assure you that this Fly update is brilliant. Now in heavy winds like this, sports mode is your friend. And make sure, because of it's a Mini 2, it's a small drone, it's not great in the wind. And I'm going to discuss this in a few more minutes. But let's just make sure the main settings you're going to be using are working fine. So sports mode working brilliantly. Let's look at that zoom. So the zoom is working well as well. So in 4K you have 2x zoom, 2.7K you can go up to 3x, and 1080p 4x zoom. Now if you press the FN button, hold it down and then slide it with that gimbal wheel at the back, you'll get a smooth zoom. So I don't know if you know that already, but this is how I create a lot of the smooth zoom ins in. You can do this straight on the drone yourself, and you can zoom in, and then you can also, once you got to that area, you can then just smoothly zoom out as well. Now 1080p I wouldn't advise using it all the time. It's a digital crop on here, so it's not perfect, but if you want to zoom into something, it's certainly handy to have. I know a lot of you guys like these Fly updates, they help you out, so if you're enjoying this, make sure you give this video a like. It certainly helps the channel out. Whilst we're here, we'll just take a photo. Now you can use auto or pro. If you're going to use an ND filter, you'll be able to again get better settings, but for today no ND filter, so I'm going to dial in those settings as much as I can. Now you can shoot in JPEG, but certainly shoot in JPEG and RAW. That will capture a lot more data, and then 16:9 or 4.3 depending on which size you want to take. So let's take a photo there. You know, it's really poor overcast conditions today, isn't it? But photos, it's good. And what's good about this drone is, although it suffers in the wind, it is stable, certainly when hovering. Quick shots exactly the same, no additional quick shots there on the Mini 2, it's the exact same as it was before. But look at that horizon line, and this is the issue that I have and a lot of you guys have with that Mini 2. So the horizon line, it needs to be adjusted a lot. So under control, if you just scroll up, you'll see gimbal calibration, manual. And then just go to the horizontal icon and just either plus or minus until you try and get that leveled out. So I'm just going to decrease that now until it actually looks pretty good. Now you might have to keep doing this. This is a downside certainly to using this drone. So we've checked sports mode, let's just check normal now. So we'll come back via normal mode, make sure that's all working fine. Again, absolutely perfect. I think this is one of the most stable apps, certainly 1.5.8 and now this one. This has kind of just ironed out some minor issues that was happening on Android. So we seem to just now have it both Android and iOS the same. Cine mode lets us go over the sea. Again, don't be afraid of this app. If I was, I would not be going this low to the sea. So more than probably over the last year, I think DJI have nailed it with these fly apps now. I think it's nice and stable. Everything's now laid out correctly. It's all as it should be. I would like more features, certainly for the Mavic 3 series, but that should hopefully come within that Fly app. But yeah, everything is working absolutely great, nice and responsive. Everything's quick, fast to the touch. The compass is working really well now. Everything's great. Aside from this is what happens when you get chased by a load of seagulls with that Mini 2. They just bully this drone. I've just have these issues here all the time, and in low winds, the ideal thing is just to go straight up. When you're in sports mode, go straight up, but because I've got a really high wind here, I need to try and keep it fairly low, so just moving erratic and then just pitching up fairly quickly is the best way to get away from these annoying birds. The return to home function works great. I'm just going to lower that altitude here. I'm going to do it directly through the app, return to home. Now, I did a video probably 6 months ago. You can move the drone whilst it's coming back to you as well to get that cinematic shot, but just look in the bottom left hand corner of that attitude indicator, just how much that drone is pitching, how much it's getting blown about. So the app is fantastic. Everything's nicely streamlined, stands out now in that bold font for your battery, for the indicator for the GPS signal. The compass is really responsive. Everything is great, and also that new Pro box as well, allowing you to select all your settings, all nicely laid out. It's great to see that this app is functioning fantastic now. So no issues there whatsoever, so I would highly suggest you go out, and if you haven't already, if you're on maybe an old Fly update, you're on 1.4.0 or something, go and get this updated. So this just brings some minor tweaks. I can't see anything different from this, certainly on iOS, but it is stable, and that's exactly what we want. So let me know in the comments down below how you're finding this, but go and make sure you go and get this downloaded. This is available both on iOS and Android. But I would also suggest, if you've been flying your drone for a while now and you've got a Mini 2, think about in your country what licenses you need to be able to go and fly and buy maybe one of the bigger drones. You know, you're experienced now, you've seen so many videos on this, and having a bigger drone is going to enable you to fly in much more windier conditions, have better camera quality. You know, these bigger drones do pack a good punch. But I'm also doing my video really soon on the Mini 2 versus this. It's the Nano Plus drone with a surprising winner. But the Mini 2 still rocks. It's great. If you've got it, let me know in the comments down below. And if you reached it this far, go and have a fantastic day. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.